Obviously, triggering loops and one-shots with the mouse is not the most intuitive way to use it in performance. So like almost everything in Torque, you can actually put the sampler under MIDI control just by doing some quick MIDI learns. In this case, I'm going to use the trigger finger. So if I right-click on the play icon and press a pad, now this pad triggers the one-shot. Pressing Shift and hitting the pad again stops it. Same thing's true if I were to do it to the next one. This one's a drum loop now. So now I can trigger this drum loop on and off using the pad and even layer on this one little kind of shout out to Torque. I can load the sampler up with tons of different loops. Got a couple more here that can be put together to kind of build drum beats as you'd like. Maybe like a little kick drum pattern here. And then layer on top a hi-hat. This. So when I set this to loop and play, now it runs, and I'll go ahead and assign these to 2 additional pads as well. So now I can start augmenting the drum beats in the music that I'm playing by layering on my own samples on top of it. Hear that extra kick drum being added with the sampler and the extra hi-hat as well. Now once I come up with a collection of samples that I like, maybe that are all related in one particular style like house or techno or hip-hop, I can load all the samples up in the sampler and then save them as a bank. All I have to do is choose Save Bank and give it a name. I'm going to put this on the desktop again. We'll call this one Demo. So now we'll find that I can recall that bank at any time instead of having to load the individual samples back up into the sampler again. The last thing we can do with the sampler is actually sample material that's being played in the DJ set. That's done simply by selecting a source using the headphone pre-listen buttons so that whatever you're hearing in your headphones ends up being fed to the sampler. So that means I can sample stuff that the audience can't hear by pre-listening first. Now the way this works is either by just pressing record by itself, at which point Torque will immediately begin recording whatever's playing, and pressing record again will cause it to stop. And that's really good for grabbing one-shot samples that you just want to play once. But in the case of music, you're more than likely going to want to grab loops. So if you press and hold the Shift button while you hit record, Torque will wait for the downbeat before it starts recording. Then when you click record again, it's going to wait to the following downbeat to stop, thus giving you a loop that is cut at the downbeats, giving you a perfect loop. So for example, starting this song, I've got headphones selected on it so I can hear it in my headphones. Shift click, it starts recording on the downbeat. I click again, and it stops recording on the downbeat. So now when I stop this song and actually hit play on the sample, you can now hear that this sample is playing, grabbing what I just had before. And like all the other samples, it's now synced up. So I can layer on a kick drum, maybe on some hi-hat, just like I was doing with the other music. And in fact, if I start the song with sync on, it's going to layer directly on top of what's already playing, so everything stays perfectly synced together.